Hello, hello! Welcome to the OklaRoots YouTube channel. Welcome to another sit and sew and chat and try to figure out this machine. We're working on the Juki 1541S. This is an industrial sewing machine. It's primarily made for leather. I have had it for a while now, a couple years maybe, and I'm still figuring it out. So today we're going to kind of play around with what we're going to do with this. And yeah. So before we get started, if you're new to the OklaRoots YouTube channel, please consider clicking subscribe down below. If at any point you like this video, please give it a like. Any questions, anything at all, leave them down in the comment section. Any tips you have, leave them down in the comment section. I have had so many people reach out to me and say that they have also bought this machine recently, or they purchased it, you know, because of one of my previous videos. I'm really excited about that. I do like this machine a lot. It is a very big machine. I'll have a playlist linked for this. So if you want to go check out the other videos on this machine, you can get kind of a better view of like how big it is. It is a complete table, like a big table, desk, big machine. But I'm still figuring it out. So we're going to try to sew some bonded nylon today. I think I'm going to start, I don't know if I want to start with a boxy bag or if I want to start with the Totes Cute Tote pattern. I think I'm going to do the Totes Cute Tote pattern because I remember how to make that one. The boxy bag one, I'm going to have to go back through my notes because I forgot how to make it. But I have a couple accessories that I think I want to try out on this machine. So one of the things about this machine is that I don't think it has a place like to cut thread, so I'm always grabbing my scissors and cutting the thread as I'm sewing, like when I'm done, you know. And so I got one of these. This is called a thread Cutterz. I actually have these. They make them in like little rings too, but this one has like an adhesive on it so that I can just stick it on the side over here. So we're gonna try that out. I don't know if you guys can see it over here. Can you guys see? Yeah, you guys can see right here. So I think I'm just gonna stick it. I don't know, is this thing? Oh, look at that. Never even took this off. Had this for years, never took off that protective bit. I don't know if I want it, can you guys see right here? Or maybe a little bit lower. Well, no, right there would be perfect because it's flat. So I think I'm going to do that. So let me see if you guys can see. You see what this is? It's just a little, it's got little razor blades on the top and bottom. This is what it looks like. And then you can just, we'll see. Ideally, this is going to be great. Realistically, there's a good chance it's just going to fall off the first time I use it. But at least because I took off that protective coating, I know that this spot right here, or where I'm going to put it, is clean. Alright, so I took the backing off the tape, and now I'm just going to stick this right here. I'm going to push it really hard. Okay, now, let's see. Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay, it's brand new, so it's super sharp. Yes. Alright. Idea number one. Next thing I have is this here. Let me find the trash. I got this thing here. It's like a sewing strip light, and I was going to try to tape it underneath the machine. I'll get my other camera set up too. Oh, look at that. So this also has like sticky stuff on it. So I'm just going to try to like tape it underneath here. I think that might help with filming. I don't know if I'm supposed to cut it. I think I can cut it. Like, I think I can cut this end, not the end that connects, obviously, to the power. Let's get this camera over here so you guys can see what I'm doing, and we'll turn it on. Also, it came with these little bits, which I don't know what these are for. I don't know what those are for. Okay, so do you see how dark that is right now? And this makes it difficult whenever I'm trying to... I mean, I have another little light. I have this little light here, too. Is it on? Yeah. So I have that little light too back here that's like a, let me show you. So this came with the machine. It's got like a strong little magnet on it, and it's a little light, which is good. It's great for just when I'm sewing and I need it because I can move it where I need it to see. But for filming, I saw in the last video, I did not have a good lighting situation. So I'm wondering, oof, look at that. That's fun, isn't it? So I wonder if I do something like that. Okay, so I cut it along one of these lines, and now we're just gonna tape it on there. We're just gonna willy-nilly this. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, no, that's working. I think that's good. So I think that's helping. Yeah, that might work. We'll see. Okay, and then that's what these are for. These are like little cord keepers, I guess. So we've got like these little plastic bits, and so these are like little cord keepers to help hold it out of your way. It's such a mess in here. It's all such a mess. Okay, so I have this thread that I really want to use today. I don't know. I think we'll be okay. I've tried to use this thread before, and it didn't go great. So maybe I won't use it. No, I'm not going to use that thread. I think the thread's fine. I think I'm going to use this one. This is the Swag Pastella Paradise Tech 70 weight. I'm going to use this one. And one thing I've seen, so you don't have to like remember how to thread it every single time, which you should practice, but what I've seen people do is they cut the thread that's currently threaded. So that's my black thread here. I'll take that off. Put it back here. And then you put the new thread on, and then you just tie it to the end of the thread that's threaded, and then pull it. Is it supposed to go through here? I don't remember. I think it is, isn't it? The videos I use for this machine are all from Juki Junkies. So if you have this machine and you need any help at all, just check Juki Junkies on YouTube.
Then you're going to work your way down here to the first thread guide. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through from top to bottom.
Okay. It does not go through this back thing over here, which for some reason I thought it did. I need to print off like a sticker that just shows the image for threading this and just stick it somewhere on my table so I don't have to look it up every time. Okay, that back thing is for the bobbin. Goodness gracious, you guys, I gotta spend more time on this machine. I gotta stop dilly-dallying. Okay, I'm just hoping that knot holds while I pull this through. No, it's not holding. Okay, top is threaded. Now I need to check my bobbin. I need to see how much I have in my bobbin and if I want to change out the color, because the color is black right now. I don't think I want black. But what color do I want? So I am going to change out my bobbin, but do I have any more bobbins? So I only have 2 bobbins and both of them have thread on it. One's white, one's black. So I'm just going to put away the black one for now, and I'll use the white thread bobbin until it runs out, and then I'll switch over to this gray. Note to self, buy more bobbins. Okay, so right now I'm just pulling the thread up, and then I'm gonna get a scrap piece of something to test and make sure I actually threaded this correctly. Okay, so I got myself some more tools. A ruler, this is gonna be for the Totes Cute Tote if we get to it, and scrap fabric, and then my turning wand. So let's do the hardest thing first, which is making sure everything is set up correctly. Alright. Oh, I'm gonna try out a new thing here. Ah, it's so good. It's so satisfying when it just slices it. Okay. Yeah, tension looks good. Everything looks good. Holy guacamole. Alright, so what do we want to start with? I have a boxy bag that I need to prep, but I also have the Totes Cute Tote. Let's start with the Totes Cute Tote. So the thing I'm interested with in the Totes Cute Tote is how does this work sewing Ponte nylon? And also with the Totes Cute Tote today, I'm going to practice a lining. And this is not part of the pattern. This is just something I'm playing with, so I'll give you guys tips, but I don't know if it's going to work because I haven't tried this yet. Alright, I have material for my strap. Haven't done anything with that yet. I didn't have enough of the lining material to do a continuous long lining gusset. So I cut 2 pieces and I think I added a 1/4 inch to each one of these, and I'm going to stitch them together. And then I have 2 cuts of lining, and I don't remember. Okay, so I kept the exterior main panels the same size as the pattern, but for the lining ones, I cut those down 1 3/4 inch shorter. So the same width, but 1 3/4 inch shorter, which you'll see why in a moment. And then the same thing with the gusset. I cut it down 1 3/4 of an inch, or I guess, yeah, 1 3/4 of an inch on each side. So whatever that is, 3 1/2, something like that. So I cut that down shorter. So yeah, I'll have those down in the description as well, just notes on what I made different. I'm not giving you guys measurements because it is a paid pattern, but there's that. So to start, I'm gonna just work on my gusset to start, and then we'll add the bag tag and we'll deal with everything else. So where am I gonna put all this stuff? I guess. So the machine I'm using today is really made for working with thick materials. I'm not using super thick material today. I'm using more lightweight material like waterproof canvas, bonded nylon, but I think it'll be okay. I think a lot of it has to do with your needle size. Now, I wouldn't suggest using quilt cotton on this machine. However, I do have a project that might be interesting coming up pretty soon. But my needle size, I believe, is a size 19 needle, which is a kind of a thinner needle for a machine like this, and I found that it works really well. Before I was using about a size 22 to 24 needle on these types of projects, and I was running into a ton of issues. And so I found that since I switched the needle down to a thinner size, it worked out a lot better. So I'm using a stitch length of 4 millimeters, and I'm going to use a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I would say tell me if you can't see what I'm doing, but it'll be too late. Back stitch. I know a lot of you guys like the sound of just the sewing machine kind of humming, and I do too, but today I think my sniffles are gonna ruin it for you. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I've just had the sniffles. I don't think I'm sick. I just keep getting sniffly. Okay, sewn together. So this is a technique you can use on any bag. If you have, especially gussets, or if you have a gusset and you don't have long enough material for the full gusset, or if you have a gusset and you have directional print and you're like, I don't want half of it to be upside down, you just cut it in half. So you would take the length of the gusset, the total length of the gusset, and you would divide it by 2, and then you would add how much the seam allowance is going to be. So for me, it's a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So your gusset length divided by 2, add 3/8 of an inch, sew it together at 3/8 of an inch, open the seam, top stitch it, easy peasy. So now I'm just opening that seam and top stitching on both sides to make my full gusset length. So I did start looking into this needle positioner. We talked about this in the last one of these videos, where I would like the needle to stay down when I take my foot off the gas. I want the needle to stay in the down position. Right now, it's just going to stay wherever it is whenever you take your foot off. But it's a little complicated. I saw, because there's not really like a needle positioner like made for this, so you get... there's videos out there where you get another needle positioner and you kind of have to you might have to grind down some parts and install it. I don't know. It seemed a little much for me, so I think I'm just gonna leave it for now. All right, so now my gusset is the right length. So what do I want to do? Maybe we just start with one panel. So I haven't rounded my bottoms yet on my... Let's do that. Let's prep the main panels. I'm going to round the bottom curves, and I'm going to add my tag. So to round these bottom curves, I'm just going to use my little boxed round corner tool, which I love. And if we get to it, I'm going to use this tool. Well, I already used this tool on my second project. I want to make a two-tone boxy bag with the accents that this was created for. But it's one of those tools you can use for a lot of different things, which is my favorite kind of tool. And then mark the midpoint on the top and bottom of your main panels. Okay, and now for this one, I'm going to lose 1/2 of an inch and then 1 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna lose 1 3/4 of an inch from the top edge. So I need to make sure that when I measure down for my bag tag, it's not in that window. So I'm gonna grab this ruler here, and I'm gonna measure down like 4 inches, I think. I think that will be good. So I know I promised a like fancied up version of the Totes Cute Tote. That is still, this is not it. That is still planned. Right now I'm just kind of trying out some ideas, but this is not that video. Ooh, a little tricky with the nylon. I really need to practice with the top stitching, because that's the thing, like, I feel like on my domestic machine, I got pretty good with the top stitching. I got good at making sure the top stitching was straight and spaced correctly. I don't have kind of like wobbly edges a whole lot. But with this machine, it's gonna take a lot of practice. Okay, so you see the tag. You see how the stitching isn't perfectly straight. So it's gonna take some practice. I'll get there though. Eventually I'll get there. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to take one of my lining panels and my exterior panel, and I'm going to lay them wrong sides together. Because I'm essentially just kind of doing this the same way I did before, where I'm just using one panel, except I'm just going to have these connected. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm lining it up along the bottom edge, so where the curve is. And you can see I don't have the curve cut on my lining panel, which is fine. I don't need it cut there just yet. It might be easier if I actually mark the midpoint on the bottom of the lining panel. Alright, so like I said, I just lined up the bottom edge and the sides of my exterior and lining main panels, and now I'm going to clip along the bottom and sides. Okay, so I'm going to baste along the sides and the bottom of this to hold the lining and the exterior together. I have not done anything with the top edge of these main panels yet. I'll get to that later. My favorite new toy. Oh, you gotta get one of these. If you have an industrial machine, even if you don't, you just have, you know, you want to put it on something, you got to get one of those. So I can tell that my machine doesn't want to work with the nylon, but I think it will. I don't think it wants to. So can you see how it's kind of like bubbly? It's a little ripply. It's having a hard time keeping it really straight. It's kind of smushing it. But I haven't had any issues with bunching or anything like that. So once we start layering this up, we'll see how that works. So now that I have that done, I'm just going to cut the corners off the lining portion to match up with the exterior. That way I don't have to measure 8 corners, right? Yeah, 2, 4. Yeah, that way I don't have to like trace and cut 8 corners like that. I can just do 4 of them and it'll work. Okay, so here's one of my main panels now. Now this bag will be shorter than the original Totes Cute Tote because I'm not going to leave this top edge raw. I am going to double fold it this time. And the goal is, again, that I'm going to fold it down once, and then I'm going to fold it down a second time. And when I fold down the second time, it's going to cover the top of the lining, which is why we didn't have it the same height. So I'm going to repeat this with the back panel. I wonder if I should get one of those. They have like clamps. You can like clamp. I wonder if I have one for my camera, so that way I don't have like this wobbly tripod over here. I'm sure I have one. I have a tendency to buy all the tools, so that way if I need it, I have it, but then I forget that I have it, and then I buy it again, which is so dumb. So dumb. I need to check, because that would be way better in here if I just had like an arm attached to the side. I got some very interesting comments on my last industrial video when we were making that Mila monster that has the loser applique on it. Some people did not like that at all. The video itself, I felt, was really helpful, and it was really exciting for me, and I shared a lot of personal stuff in there, but also somebody commented in that video, they thought that I was intoxicated when I was filming that video. And here's the thing. Your girl loves a cocktail. She does. There's no lie to that. However, I will never, ever sew when I've been drinking. I'm not going to say I'm never going to film when I've been drinking, but I will never, even without the camera on, I will never sew when I've been drinking. It's too dangerous, guys. I like my fingers. I like not getting cut or having anything stabbed into them, so I was not under the influence in the last video. My eyes are just tired. I think that's what it was. It was like, look at her eyes. You can tell she's been drinking. It's like, no, you can tell she hasn't been sleeping, though, because Mama's tired. But yeah, if you ever want to ask a question, you can always ask if I'm under the influence, but most likely I'm not. But like if you've seen some of our live streams, sometimes we have cocktails in our live stream. It's fun. I might be doing a New Year's Eve live stream. We'll see. I know on YouTube we did a poll on YouTube for everybody, and that seemed to be a pretty interesting idea. So yeah, maybe we'll do a New Year's Eve live stream. And if we do a New Year's Eve live stream, I will probably have bubbles. And I apologize to anybody who came to this video looking for very thorough technical information for this industrial machine, and now you're just listening to me chit chat about random things. This is not that kind of video. I will have links down below for Juki Junkies if you need the technical ins and outs of this machine. I do suggest you go follow them because they're gonna give that to you. I am not. Alright, so I have both the front and back main panels basted with their lining panels. I'm going to do the same thing now for the gusset. With the gusset, it's a little bit trickier because I need to have overhang on both ends. So to help with that, I am going to mark the midpoint on my exterior gusset. And if you have an exterior gusset that's made of two pieces like what I did with the lining, then that seam in the center is going to be the midpoint. But if you just have one piece like I do, you need to mark it. And for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my exterior and my lining gussets wrong sides together. And first, I'm going to match up the bottom midpoint marks. That's where I'm going to start. And then I'm going to work my way out towards the tops of the gusset. And your lining gusset should be shorter than your exterior gusset. Like I said, by like 1 3/4 of an inch. It's not exactly like that because sometimes when we sew it together and we line it up, it's not exactly 1 3/4 of an inch. It's fine. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to baste along the clipped edges. Add 1/8 of an inch seam allowance to just hold this together. I'll see if I run out of bobbin doing this. I need to pay attention to that. And I had a lot of people asking me about this presser foot that I'm using because it's a very skinny presser foot. I cannot remember where I got it from. I either got it from Sewing Gold, I think. Maybe Sewing Gold? I can't remember where I got it from. Or I'll try to find it and put a link down below. There are a lot of presser feet options for this machine. But yeah, this one I definitely really like it because I don't have the patience to be unscrewing and rescrewing in presser feet, depending if I'm using a zipper or if I'm, you know, just sewing normally. So having just one foot that's really skinny is my favorite. So if you've been following along and you've heard me talk about wanting to purchase a cylinder arm machine, I do still want to do that. It's just, it's probably not going to happen this year. Because of space, I have no place to put it. I'm still trying to figure that out. Money, it's expensive. It's an investment, and that's not going to work right now. And then also just time, you know? I mean, look at this. It's taking me a couple months. I love this machine, and it takes me a couple months to actually spend time on it. So I still don't really have time for a new machine yet, but I am going to get one. Most likely in 2025, I will get a cylinder arm machine. I just need to figure out the other logistics first. You guys like my lamp back there? I feel like it looks like I have an idea. Like my little thought bubble. Like I guess if this doesn't work out, I'll just turn it off. Be like, no more ideas. Ideas are no good. All right, so now let's build the straps. Let's do the straps and build the top pieces of our main panel, and then we can sew it all together. 27 inches. Yeah, okay. So make sure I had a ruler here I can use. I'm gonna do about 27 inches for my straps. I don't know, when you sew, do you like clean up everything as you sew, or do you just like make a big old mess and then clean it up another day? Like right now, like I have extra webbing, I'm just gonna throw it on the floor. Versus like tidying it up right now, putting it away. I'm just gonna leave it on the floor, and then whenever I get around to cleaning all this up, then I'll clean it. I'm just wondering, because for me, when I bake, I don't cook, but when I bake in the kitchen, I clean as I bake. Like I'm washing dishes while the mixer is running, or putting stuff away, cleaning off the counters. I'm constantly cleaning while I'm baking, versus my husband who cooks for us. He just makes a huge mess. And he's like, I will deal with it all after we eat dinner. But with sewing, I'm the opposite. With sewing, I'm just like, I just throw it where it needs to go, and I'll clean it all up later. I just thought that was an interesting thought. Are you the same? Do you do that? Or do you are you consistent? Do you always keep things tidy, or are you always just a little messy? No judgment either way. Oh my gosh, these are some slippery straps. Oh, these straps are going to be even shorter too. I didn't think about that. Dang it. I should have measured my straps an inch longer. So I should have made them 28 inches, not 27 inches. Whoops. So I'm just going to do one panel for now to see if this works. I mean, it's going to work. It's going to work, I think. I'm not even going to use clips for that. I'm just going to use my eyeballs to sew this on. I'm just going to baste these on along the edge at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so on the back of one of my main panels, here on the back, I measured down 1 inch, and I just marked a line with my marker, and then I added a piece of double-sided tape just above it, even though it's upside down right now in the video, because this is easier for me to do it this way. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip out the strap too, and I'm going to fold that top edge of my main panel back so that the top raw edge meets that 1 inch mark. So this is just folding it back 1/2 of an inch. So now this is what it looks like. I didn't think about the fact that when we fold it down the second time, the strap is going to be facing down. And so we're going to have to fold that strap up, which is not a problem on this machine, but I wouldn't want to do that probably on the domestic machine. We'll see. So now I'm going to measure down 2.5 inches from this top fold on the lining side and make a mark. I mean, do I want to do it that much? I guess I don't have to fold it down that much. Seems like a really big fold. All right, before I add tape or anything, I'm just going to see what that looks like. I like it. I'm okay with it. You could probably go with a smaller fold. You could probably just fold it down, honestly, by like another 1/2 of an inch if you wanted to, but I think I like the big fold. So I'm going to add tape now just above that marked line. And then I'm just going to fold that top folded edge back to meet that marked line. So now I folded it down again, this time by 1.25 of an inch. Okay, so now you see how my strap is facing the bottom? We don't want that. We need it up. So I'm just going to fold it up and use clips to hold it in place. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I wonder how my bomb is doing. I thought it would run out by now, but it hasn't, which makes me nervous. That means it's probably going to run out while I'm sewing. All right, so this is what I have. So I'm going to start with just the top edge here. I'm going to top stitch along this top edge, add an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm using a 5mm stitch length. That's the same stitch length I've been using for basting, but I think it's fine. Okay, so this is what we have now. And the top stitching looks really nice. You guys want to see it? The top stitching looks really, really nice. And I love that it easily goes over that layer for the straps, which can be a little tricky on domestic machines. So now I want to do another row of top stitching to hold down this bottom edge, but I want to do it from the right side. So we want to go down 1 1/8 inch. And I wonder if I have that on here. I thought I did. Yeah, I guess if I go to the number 9, if I go to the number 9 on my thing here, what the heck is that thing called? Whatever it's called. Just make sure it stays down. Yeah, it's catching. Perfect. It's catching perfectly. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Oh dear. Ah, I lost my mark for a minute. I got a bit of a wobble there. Okay, so here is where we're at. You see, this is the back. It looks really nice. A lot of times with thick seams like this, on a domestic machine especially, you're gonna get some looping, especially the back stitching, the back bobbin stitching isn't gonna look that great. But I feel like all of this is looking really nice, and it's working really well with the nylon. Again, it's working better with the nylon when I have it all layered up like this than it would on its own. Okay, so now I'm just gonna repeat this exact same process with the other main panel. Okay, so now I have both my main panels prepped. I'm just trying to make sure they're both the same size. I didn't like miss anything, measure anything, that's the word. So I'm going to do the same thing with the gusset. I'm just going to measure down 1/2 inch from the top, fold it once, measure 1 1/4 inch or 2 1/2 inches, fold it again, top stitch. So for that first 1/2 inch fold, I just use tape to hold it in place. There's really no reason to top stitch along that fold or anything like that, because we're going to top stitch it down in the next step anyways, but you do want to hold it down. So if you were doing this on a domestic machine and you had like a quilt cotton or something, because you could do this with quilt cotton because again we have a lining, so you could do that instead. Okay, so you see I have that measured, and I put some double-sided tape there so I can fold it down. I'm really hoping I measured the gusset correctly, because it doesn't look like I measured my gusset lining correctly, but who knows. So I had some folks ask if they could make the Totes Cute Tote as the pattern is with no lining using bonded nylon. And I mean, you can, but like see bonded nylon has like a cloth backing. Now it's not fuzzy, but it is fabric-y. So if it gets stained, if it gets wet, I don't know if it's gonna stay looking the way you want it to look. So personally, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't use bonded nylon without a lining, but you could. Now there's other nylons you can do that with. I've done a bag like that before where it was a nylon material. It was from Wonderground Fabrics, and we just made it with no lining because the front and the back were kind of the same. So with that one, you can definitely do that. I'll have a link down below. I don't remember. I think it's just called like Luxe Nylon or something. I don't remember the exact name of it, but I'll have a link in the description for that type of nylon. I will say that type of nylon, it does fray quite a bit, and it's kind of like swishy, so it doesn't keep its shape very well. Bonded nylon is really great because it doesn't fray and it holds its shape. If you cut a square, it's going to stay a square versus the other nylon, you can cut a square and then it starts becoming more of like a trapezoid or something. So something to think about, but it's still easy to work with. And it has a very nice feel to it. So I'm just doing my 2 top stitchings just like I did on the front and back panels. One at 1/8 of an inch, one at 1 1/8 of an inch. And that's just to hold down that fold. That's what I like about this pattern, is that I feel like you can play with it a lot. You can alter it a lot. I am going to play with doing this in either a faux leather, a heavy vinyl, or a leather. Thinking leather because I have a bunch of leather that I'd really like to work with. And a lining and a zipper on the top. That's going to take some planning. But we'll do that together. Just like with this, I won't do it ahead of time. We'll go together, and whatever I learn from it, I will put in a document or something, so you guys can do it too if you want. Okay, so now my gusset is all done. Now we're just gonna put it together and hope it works. So I'm gonna start with the front panel, and we're gonna lay the front panel lining side up, and then gusset lining side down. Remember, these are wrong sides together because we bind it on the outside. If you want to do the French seam here, you can, if you have an industrial machine that can handle that, because these seams are going to be pretty thick compared to the original one. So yeah, if you want to do that, go for it. But I'm going to stick with this. I will say I'm using an adhesive binding today. I'm not sure how well that's going to go. I feel like I really like adhesive binding for the inside of bags, but for the outside, I think sometimes it kind of looks a little thin, because it is a pretty thin material, and I don't know. I might change it. We'll see. I'm going to sew this together first, and then I'll decide what I want to do with the binding. I really wanted to use elastic today, but I don't have any. I have the Biani elastic, but I wanted to use that 1 inch wide elastic. I don't have any, so I'm going to have to put it in order for a bunch of that, because I really like that stuff. I've only got to use it in a bee box, but I need to buy some. I want a big old roll in all the colors of it. I will say, I know for my pattern, I do keep the gusset on the longer side. Sometimes gussets can be very, very tight, which I love the look of, but for this one, because it is a beginner pattern, I really wanted to make it as easy as possible for folks to make this. So I kept the gusset long enough where you shouldn't have to really be like stretching those, stretching the gusset around those corners. All right, so I'm gonna sew this down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So because my seam is thicker than it is if I was just using a water resistant canvas and no lining, sorry, I'm checking my battery on my camera. I wanna make sure that this 1 inch wide binding will work. So I'm going to sew it down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I'll put the binding on at a 3/8 inch seam allowance if I can. 1/4 of an inch is going to be the 2. See, this is where you want your needle to be able to stay in the down position when you're going around curves, because if you lift, if I were to like lift my presser foot and move my stuff right now while the needle is up, I'm gonna lose my place, and it's gonna be a bit of a mess to get it back. So that's why I would like to be able to keep it in the down position. And I will say the cylinder arms I was looking at, I think they all have that feature on them where you can have the needle positioner is like already on it, or it's an option. So, oh, I ran out of bobbin thread. So excited about making progress too. That's okay. That's okay. I will reclip and we will redo it. Once we get to practice winding a bobbin, you gotta look at the bright side of everything. Now we have the opportunity to practice winding a bobbin. So if you do like your corners on things like this with your gusset really, really, really tight, I would suggest decreasing the gusset length by 1 to 2 inches, and that will give you a nice tight corner. Alrighty. I gotta watch a video again for this. I've got to do this machine more so I don't have to watch a video every time.
And now this is the most important part, of course, making sure that that thread is in this tension disc properly.
See, I have such an issue with winding bobbins. I think maybe I just don't have it running fast enough, but like, do you guys see? Do you see that mess there? I mean, obviously, look at this thing sticking out over here. So I'm not sure what I should do. I'm not sure if I should just try it all over again or just pull it till I get to that spot. Let's see, I'm just gonna cut off most of the mess and see if that works. And if it doesn't, then I'll wind another bobbin. I made the tension more tense. Oh my gosh, so much thread. What a waste. Just to make sure we're okay, I'm gonna go over my test scrap here because I don't want to screw this up on my bag. Okay, back to work. All right, I decided I'm gonna use this is like a waterproof Oxford, I believe. Just like water resistant canvas, waterproof canvas. This is that binding. I'm gonna use that instead of this binding because this binding, like I said, the material is very, very thin. And I know it's just gonna show all the little bumps on my material, which I don't want. So here we go, here's where we're at. Sewed this on, had no problem whatsoever sewing this binding. It was very easy, or not binding, sewing the gusset. It was all very, very easy. So now I'm just going to attach my binding, just like I do normally. And I do like to make sure I fold down the top edge of binding. And I'm just gonna cut down the corners. It's gonna be a tight fit though. So that's the thing with thicker material. Binding around thicker material requires wider binding, because it's got to be able to get around it. So that's why I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance instead of a 3/8 inch seam allowance, because I wasn't quite sure my binding would be able to reach some of these really thick areas. Like up here where it's double folded, that's really thick. So I need to make sure my binding can reach that. Okay, we're all good to go. So I have, isn't that beautiful? This is why I like this pattern so much, is because this binding is such a fun accent. It's just so many pops of color. So now I'm just gonna top stitch this on at about 1/4 inch. If I can go a little bit bigger than 1/4 inch, I will. So I'm gonna do it with the main panel right side up instead of the gusset right side up, because that's where you're gonna see the thread. So hopefully that will be good. I think it'll be fine. I've made this bag enough times. You think I would know all the tips and tricks by now. All right, we're just gonna look at that. I'll come back to that. Ooh wee. Okay, so I'm just gonna check and make sure I caught all the edges. Looks like I did. Good, good, good. Looking good. Lost control around one corner, but for the most part, I think it looks really good. Isn't that fun? How bright and colorful. I love it. All right, so I'm just gonna repeat all of that on the back. I'm not sure what I wanna do about up top here. I think what I'm gonna do here, so I left the threads long. I did not backstitch at the beginning and the end of this because my machine didn't want to. So I'm tying it in a knot on the top here, but do I want to just, I guess I can just leave it. I was thinking about getting a needle and like threading it through another thing, but I don't even know where my needles are right now, or if I have a needle big enough for this. So I have these little pigtails here, and I'm just gonna gently melt them down. There we go. And that will hide it and protect it enough. There we go. All right. So I'll do the same thing on the other side. So now let's repeat that with the back panel. So once again, main panel and gussets lining sides together. Exteriors facing out, and just clip these together. I like to use the top corners to mark everything, and then also the bottom midpoints to make sure everything is lined up. So I think I'm going to save the second project, the boxy bag project, either for another video. Maybe we'll do that later this month. I mean, we can just do a bunch of videos on this machine because it seems to be that's the only way I'm going to get in practice is if I'm using it for a video. Unfortunately, there's just not a whole lot of free time. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll do the boxy bag in another video this month because that one's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Even though we've done a boxy bag on this machine before, we did a leather one. All right, so now I'm going to sew this on. Again, I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm using a 4mm stitch length, and I'm doing it with the Gusset exterior right side up. Okay, so this is what we have so far. It's looking good. Like I said, it's just a tiny bit shorter. I mean, it's half of an inch shorter than the other bag. And because it has lining, it definitely has a lot more structure to it. So this would be a really good like Christmas market tote. This would be good too as a grocery tote for the heavier items like milk, juice, things like that. Because again, you just have more layers, and if you do an industrial machine, you have much thicker thread, so it's just stronger. So once again, I'm going to add the binding, just like I did before. So one thing I really, really want to practice is top stitching, because if you get it just right, if you get your top stitching just right with this machine and this type of thread, it looks so incredible. I think every single time I do an industrial video, I tell you to go check out the Crafty Reporter. Amber is the master with her industrial machine. She doesn't have the same one as this, but she's so good at getting that top stitching just absolutely perfect. And I don't know how she does it. Because I mean practice. She just practices like crazy. She's got more experience on that machine than probably anybody. But yeah, I want to be able to master the top stitching because I have some really great ideas for things I want to do with vinyl and leather on this machine, but it does require perfect top stitching, which I'm not there yet. Alrighty, last one. Just like I did on the other side, I'm gonna sew this with the main panel exterior side up, and I'm gonna top stitch again at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Hopefully I don't knock you around too much. When you do the second binding, you want to make sure that the edge that you already bound doesn't creep up underneath, so the other side, you can kind of fold up underneath the material and you can accidentally stitch it down in your binding, which you don't want to do. Okay, so now I'm just going to check the back and make sure we caught everything on the gusset side. Looking good. And just like I did before, I'm just going to tie like 2 or 3 knots with my threads that are overhanging on the top here, just right on the top. And then I'll just cut them and melt them. But ideally, I would tie it a couple times and then I'd take a needle and I could thread the needle with these tails and put them through some of the stitches and have them kind of come out lower on the binding. Another day, another bag we'll do that on. All right, here we go. Let me make it look nice. How cute is that, right? And it's so sturdy and it's so thick, which I love. And we have no raw edges anywhere, and we have no, you know, exposed wrong sides or anything like that. I think I am going to do a magnetic snap on the top here, and I think I'm going to add some rivets over the straps just for extra reinforcement, especially if I'm going to be using this for heavy things. But man, oh man, this would be such a fun beach bag too. I know it's December, but if you're thinking about like a holiday over winter where you go somewhere warm, this would be a great like little bag to bring with you. You could do it in clear vinyl. Oh, maybe we should do that next time. Maybe we should do a clear vinyl version of this. I don't know. That's a lot. This is now like the 3rd time I've made a video for this bag, so I don't know if we're going to get sick of it, but I just like the shape and I like the look of it. So I hope you had fun with this. I hope that this was interesting to you if you're interested in these types of machines. I'm going to be doing more videos on this machine because it's been requested. Hopefully they won't all be crooked. I feel like you guys are kind of crooked. I don't know. We'll get the camera situation figured out. We'll get the lighting figured out. We'll get it all figured out over time. The more we do it, the better it's going to be. So I hope you're having a great day. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Get out there and make something. Bye, guys.